This is Avinash coming to you from London. Guys, let's put in the chat if you can hear me, if you can see me, just to make sure, including Facebook Live, please. I'm super, super excited. I mean, I was just watching these videos leading up to us starting. I was like getting even more pumped. Let's have a look. Can you guys hear me? I'm just waiting for some messages to see. Facebook, can you guys hear me on Facebook Live? I see quite a lot of people. I've got my Facebook Live set up on the site just to make sure. I've got it flashing here. Let's see. Awesome, awesome. You can all hear me and see me. Guys, this is Avinash Nagamah coming to you from London, Diamond Ambassador with Ibüümerang. And this is your basic training for today. Well, let me say a little bit about myself, first of all. About this industry, let's say, I don't want to take too much of your time with my story. I started in the industry of network marketing in February 2016. And February 2016, up till June, mid of June, I'd sign up 0 people. Not just because, hey, I didn't really want to do it, to be honest. Just bear with me 1 second. I've got a feeling my screen is not on share anymore. If I can just try and that.
Yeah, we stopped you so we could see you.
Oh, can you not see me?
Yeah, we wanted to see you while you were talking.
Oh, all right. I'll leave it to you. Whatever you think is best. Thank you very much, Mr. T. Gray. Always so helpful. Guys, massive shout out to Mr. T. Gray. I cannot explain the amount of support we get from Mr. T. Gray and the rest of the corporate. So thank you very much for that. Guys, I was saying, for the first 3.5, 4 months in this industry, I signed up 0 people. I had a business of just myself, just me. And you know, as they say, when you join in network marketing, well, you're at the top. You're the CEO of your own business. But here's the thing, the titles don't pay the bills, right? But it's also because there was a lack of belief. I wasn't plugged into a system. And I remember I was almost tricked into attending my first event. And it so happened to be a large global event that was happening in London. And the people managed to literally trick me into attending the event. And that's the day I decided that I was going to really launch my business. I've got to give a massive shout out to all the people that helped me along the way, but there wasn't such a system. So we went out and did an incredible job, but we did it all wrong. We did it all wrong. And that's happened not once, but twice in my career in network marketing. And then when Ibüümerang presented itself, which couldn't have happened at a better time, when we saw the leadership, we saw the system that they had. I mean, let alone the vision of what the company was trying to achieve. We're not going to go into those details today. It just blew our mind away, because I remember in our previous company, there was people who had been in this industry for 15 years, 20 years, 10 years, much longer than myself. And they used to say, hey, but we need a system. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't get it. I didn't get it because I had never been shown a system. So I was wondering, what system? We're building, we're making money, we're hitting ranks. What system? But here's the thing. That's when I joined Ibüümerang, I realized why in any of the 2 previous business I talk about, we were not able to maintain and sustain the growth. And I'm so grateful that here at Ibüümerang, we have a system. And this is what I'm going to be covering with you today. We're going to be showing you one of the best tool, the best system that is provided to you. But before we do that, if we just go back into sharing the screen now, hope you can all see my screen. Now, first of all, let's put on a disclaimer. As you know, at Ibüümerang, we cannot and will not make any guarantees about your ability to get results or earn money with our program, information, tools, or strategies. Especially we're talking about tools today. But here's the thing. I want to share a little story with you. Well, no story, it's a fact, because we all been through that. As at a younger age, we all go through schooling, school, college, university for some of us. Here's the thing. One thing we're told repeatedly, that you cannot copy in an exam, plagiarism, and you get penalized for that. You get chucked out of the exams, right? Yet every single one of us here knows someone who either got caught doing it or got away doing it, right? When we are told we cannot do it, yet people try to do it. Here's the reason why. Human beings, we always want to relate to whoever is the best in one specific subject, in one specific field. Hey, if it was a science exams, I was absolutely horrible at science. I would have loved, because we know who has been having the best success in the science class. I would have loved to be able to copy from them, but we're not allowed to. But here's the thing, this is the beauty in network marketing. Here, you get given the system to copy, to duplicate. You get given. Now we have no excuse. So I hope you've read the rest of this disclaimer, because it's very important for you to understand that although the system, the proven system is there, this does not guarantee your income, because what we can't guarantee is what effort you're going to put in, what amount of work you're going to put in, right? With that, today we want to share with you of how to use your calendar to succeed. Now, this calendar is ultimately important. Now, for my people there who's got this calendar, I want to see in the chat, put yes if you have your calendar. I want to see how many people on this call. I see hundreds of people on this call. Who of you have got your calendar? Let's put a yes in the chat. Let's put a yes in the chat, because it's very important. As we go through this, I'm going to explain to you how to maximize the calendar to the most. Okay? All right, I see loads of people putting yes. Awesome. And we're going to have another question for you later. And we're going to have another question to see if the second phase, you've got it. Right? You see, successful people work by calendar. You have to be organized. You do not see someone having huge success if they're not organized. You know, and the calendar is ultimately important. This calendar is not just a calendar. You know, when you look at the price we pay for this, compared to the value we get, it's priceless. We're not paying for what it shows us, the system that it teaches us in that calendar. We're just paying for the paper, for the printing, for the binding. That's what we're paying for. But that's where people go wrong, because you need to realize that that $25 you pay is just an investment, but the value that this holds is priceless. And the day you realize that and you start applying the way we've been taught, all of us have been taught this by our GMA, Mr. Edwin Haynes, by Mr. Holton Buggs, you will see the success that follows based on your efforts. Remember the disclaimer, right? So now, see, as I say, the Ibüümerang flight plan calendar is a must-have tool. If you're serious about succeeding, you must have this, and you can purchase this at boomgear.com. Now, here's the thing. For any of you on this call, whether you're watching this live or on the recording, I urge you, if you're serious about your business, you're serious about Ibüümerang, then the first thing you need to do after this call is go to boomgear.com and order yourself your calendars. Not your calendar, your calendars. And I'll explain what I mean by that as we go along. It's very important that you maximize from it, right? So you see, in order to grow your numbers, you have to know your numbers. Now, what do I mean by that? You see, first of all, you got to, duplication is the goal here. And it begins with a set plan. So it begins with you. It begins with me, with you, each of us individually. Because if you don't know your numbers, then you can't duplicate that. It's important that you work the calendar so that you can teach your team to work the calendar. It's important that you work the calendar so your team will work the calendar, because remember, people will do what you do, not what you tell them to do. Now, how do you duplicate? Well, like I said, first of all, you work the calendar. Then you teach others to work the calendar to start the duplication process. But you keep working the calendar, and eventually you teach others to work the calendar. And that starts the domino effect of duplication within your organization, so that everyone, the aim is for everyone who's serious about their business, for everyone who wants to build this business, to be working the calendar. Now, of course, there's different ways in people working this calendar, but as I said, the first key things before you decide whether you're doing this in no time, part-time or full-time, or even on a wealth building time, well, first of all, you need to get organized. So you need to set your priorities. Now, we understand that everyone have certain things they need to do. Some people have a job. Okay, at the moment, most of you are at home. Some of you may be working at home, but set all your priorities. You see, you have to go to work. You have to go to work. We can't change that, but put it in your calendar. You go in, you put in the time that you have to leave home and the time that you get back home. Put in your meditation, your spiritual, your charitable time. You see, the whole concept of Ibüümerang, it's about giving. It's about giving away goodwill. Last week, for example, I put in my calendar 3 hours aside, because myself and my wife had decided we're going to take away, in this current difficult time, we were thinking of the homeless. We're thinking, the homeless, we've no one on the street. How is the homeless going to manage? So we thought the least we can do is any clothes, spare clothes that we have that we are not going to use or we haven't used for a while, why not give that away? And I put that in my calendar because I have to take the time out to do that. Now, family time, it's very important, because you see, how you do anything is how you do everything. So you have to give time to your family. You have to give time to your kids. So allocate that time within your calendar. And then you have to allocate time for your wealth creation. That's why we're all here, right? You've got to block out all the important times in your calendar before you can start allocating time to work the rest of the hours that's available within your calendar for your business. Now, this is two numbers which are ultimately key. You see, I mentioned earlier, your calendar is not just a calendar. Your calendar is a calculator. And here's the formula. The formula says 5 and 1,000. 5 and 1,000. These are two numbers I want you to repeat over and over and over and over again. These are two numbers. In fact, you know what? Let's put that in the chat. Guys, let's go and put that in the chat. 5 and 1,000. 5 and 1,000. Now, what do we mean by that? You see, 5 and 1,000, it's like the formula you were learning at school. But you needed a calculator. And this is your calculator. This is not just your calendar, but it's also your calculator. You see, the 5 and 1,000 is merely this simple. You have to have 5 qualified prospects at each exposure. 5 qualified prospects. Now, first of all, couples counts as 1. You can't have 2 couples and 1 single person there and you say you've got 5 qualified prospects. Couples count as 1. So you need to make sure you have 5 qualified prospects. First of all, they need to know what they're coming there for. You need to qualify those prospects. You need to make sure they've cleared their schedule and they've committed to attend the exposure. You have to make sure they can afford our business. But we're not going to go into details with that, but your 5 and 1,000 is to have 5 qualified prospects at each exposure. and to come out of there with 1,000 QV, 1,000 qualifying volume from each exposure. Now, if you can commit to working the calendar the way we've been taught, the way we're about to share with you today, then following the disclaimer and the amount of work you put in, then today we're going to show you how to go Sapphire. And from Sapphire, how to go Ruby, how to go Emerald, and how to go Diamond. Now, who wants to go Diamond? Who wants to go Diamond? This is one I want to see in the chat, because this is what this call is all about. We want to see who wants to go Diamond. We want to know who's going Diamond, because you see, when you go Diamond, you get the opportunity to be part of something incredible. Something incredible, which we'll talk about in a short while, okay? Now, here's how different people work the calendar. Some people work the calendar in no time. Their calendar is empty. Their calendar is empty. They don't even have a calendar. I mean, you get into a business. You get into a business, your own business. You purchase, enter into your business. You get told, for such a small amount, here's the formula of success. And you don't even have a calendar. And then you're saying, this doesn't work, or your boomerangs are not coming back. Well, you are getting given the system, you don't want it. Others work this calendar part-time. What does part-time here means? 4 exposures a month. 4 exposures a month is merely 1 exposure a week. And then you have people who work this calendar full-time. And that's 4 exposures a week. Now, for anyone who maybe works full-time already, or maybe have even 2 jobs, let me just elaborate here. When we say full-time here, 4 exposures per week, we're talking 90 minutes to 2 hours for each exposure, from the point of starting to the point of closing, completely. At most of the time, it's even less time than that. Now, even if I said 90 minutes, 4 times a week, can you allocate 3 hours on a Saturday or Sunday? And maybe 90 minutes, 2 days a week in the evening? I'm sure every single one of you can do that. You see, it all comes down to being organized. It all comes down to you having your life organized, your schedule organized, that everything is in the calendar. And then you have others who build this business using the calendar for their wealth. It's wealth building. They do 4 exposures per day. Yes, 4 exposures per day. Here's the thing. Let's look at the full-time example. 4 exposures per week with 5 qualified prospects is 20 qualified prospects per week. For a period of 4 weeks to start with, that's 80 qualified prospects. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. You could probably do a birthday party and have more than 80 people at your house. You could do a birthday party and have more than 80 people in your house. But when you look at making your list to qualify those prospects, you become shy of adding them to your list. Don't make the decision for them. If they are a qualified prospect, they should be invited to one of these exposures. They have to. Now, here's the success formula. 4 exposures per week at 1,000 qualifying volume per exposure, as we've just mentioned. That gives you 4,000 QV qualifying volume per week. Now, there are times you might get less, there are times you might get more, but the aim is to make sure the average is at 1,000 QV per week. Now, how do you get 1,000 QV? Hey, it could be 2 people, for example, on a business class. It could be 1 person on a first class. And in some weeks, you might just have 1 person signs up on a business class at 1 exposure. And another day, you may have 2 people sign up on a first class. but you've got to ensure that the average is 1,000 QV per week. Why? Because that's the success to formula, and that is the success to you achieving Sapphire. Because 4 weeks at 4,000 QV per week gives you a total of 16,000 QV. 16,000 QV. And here's the thing, each team member who will work the calendar has to set the goal at 16,000 QV minimum. And that, as we know it, as we all know it, gets you to Sapphire. Now, for any of you that was in Vegas last year, August, for our event, you will know when Mr. Buggs went on the stage and explained the importance of Sapphire. And if you were not there, please make sure you watch that video and you're there for the next event in August in Vegas, because you cannot miss that. You see, Sapphire is the pillars of our industry, of our business. And the formula has just been given to you. The formula is simple. You get one of these and you work this calendar as a calculator. You make sure for each meeting that you've set at the end, you put in there how much QV you've accumulated for that meeting, for that exposure. Because if it's any less, if your average is running any less, you need to start pumping the other exposure even more. If you've come out on your first week and instead of being at 4,000, you're at 3,000 volume, you don't just carry on saying, hey, you know, they say 4 meetings a week, 4 weeks, I'm going to be Sapphire. And then comes to the end of the 4 weeks, you say, oh, I've got 14,000 volume. I didn't qualify as Sapphire. This don't work. Well, no. The averages are, there are times you will be above, there are times you will be below. But here's the thing. If you find that you're behind after the first week, you know that you've got to put in more work. You've got to put in more work. Then you've got to look for 6 qualified prospects if you need to. But chances are, because this is a proven system that has been used by many of our top leaders in this company, including our own GMA, Mr. Edwin Haynes, Mr. Holton Buggs. This, if you work it to the T, it should give you this results. Obviously, the key things here is if you put in the effort, just like our disclaimer mentioned. Now, here's the thing. Once you get to Sapphire, what do you do to get to the next step? And here's where it's very important I explain this to you. You see, I made a mistake, and hands up, the first time the calendar was available, I ordered one. I got myself one. And that was the biggest mistake ever. Why? Well, I should have got myself as many as the number of people I want to be working the calendar in my team. I didn't want to just work the calendar by myself, because that technically can only get you to Sapphire. So if you want to get further, how do you do that? Well, first of all, if there's you and 2 people working the calendar, that gets you to 48,000 QV, and that gets you to Ruby. You plus 2 people in your team, separate legs, working the calendar, gets you to Ruby. Now, if you want to be a Ruby and you're not a Sapphire yet, or you just got started, you can't go and buy 1 calendar. Based on this example, you've got to buy a minimum of 3 calendars. But here's what I would do. I'd buy 5. I'd buy 5 because you probably have 4 people, maybe even more, maybe even buy 10 calendars, because you're going to need it eventually. If you're not here for the short term, if you're here, you fully believe in the vision, you believe in yourself, and you believe in the vision of this company, you know where this company is going, then you've got to have spare calendars at home all the time. But at minimum here, I'd buy 5 calendars, because I know to get 2 people working the calendar to the T, I'm probably going to have 4. 4 of them who said they're going to do it. 2 of them might do it no time or part-time. or they might just have one meeting a week. But I need to have the calendars ready for them. Because if I give the first 2 calendars out to someone who's just working this one exposure a week, when I find my 2 people who say, yes, I'm ready, I want to do 4 exposures a week, I don't have a calendar to give them. When I say give, you give them the calendar, you take the money from them, no problem. But you have to have the calendar ready, because now if they are going to go and place the order, now depending where you are, I'm in London. By the time we place the order and wait for the shipping to arrive, especially in the current situation where there's a lot of delays, when do you think I'm going to receive the calendar for my team? When do we start working the calendar to be able to get the results? Hey, by then, if we were going to start on the 1st and 2 of them, the 2 people who's supposed to work the calendar with me, do not receive their calendar until the 15th, then this formula doesn't work. Then this formula won't work. But you can't blame it on this. You were not prepared. You were not prepared for your own success. You see, when someone new joins, they don't just get access to a calendar. So you need to order your calendars and have them ready. Next event you go to, you got to make sure you stock up on calendars. You've got to stock up. Now, when you get to Ruby, or when you're Sapphire and you're planning the next rank, how do you get to the next rank of Emerald? Now, for you to get to the next rank of Emerald, it's you plus 4 people in your organization working the calendar. That generates on 5 of you on an average of 16,000 volume by doing 4 meetings every single week for the month, for 4 weeks, gets you 80,000 QV. Here you go again. If your target before the next event in Vegas is to hit Emerald, you can't wait to have someone tell you, I'm ready to run with this. I'm ready to do 4 meetings, 4 exposures a week. I will make sure I have my 5 qualified prospects at each. And then you're going to say, oh, okay, let's order the calendars. No. You need to have your calendars ready right now. So if you're serious about getting to Emerald, you need to have your calendars right now. And then the next step is to get to the prestigious rank where you get to be part of something I've never experienced. In my 4 years in this industry prior to Ibüümerang, I had never experienced this. When you get to Diamond at Ibüümerang, you get to be part of a circle which is incredible. The value that you get for every minute that you spend with these incredible leaders, all these diamonds that we have out there, all the blue diamonds that we have, our GMA, Mr. Holton Buggs. I mean, it's simply incredible. But more importantly, apart from the knowledge that they're always pouring, the system that they're using that's working for them, that they're always sharing, you get to be part of the LU. Loyalty, unity, edification. And the first time I remember when Mr. Buggs gave the speech on stage in Vegas and explained what that stands for. In Ibüümerang, what diamond ship stands for, what the LU stands for. It melted my heart, because I've never been exposed to anything like this. Can you imagine if you reach the rank of diamond, the rest of the diamonds take a pledge that if something was to ever happen to you and that you couldn't work your business, each diamond commits to working 2 weeks in your business. And Mr. Buggs, our GMA, Mr. Edwin Haynes, and the corporate will look into your business and say, hey, that leg needs working. If that leg gets going, then your business will flourish, your earning will be more. And each diamond commits to working 2 weeks in your business. Now, I've known no job, no business, or no company in network marketing to ever have such a thing. But how do you get to diamond? How do you get to become part of this circle? Well, in simple ways, it's you plus 12 people working the calendar. You plus 12 people working the calendar. That gets you at an average of 16,000 QV, provided you follow the formula of 5 and 1,000. 5 and 1,000 gets you to 208,000 QV, gets you to diamond. Now, here's the thing. If you and 12 people need to work the calendar together, you've got to be prepared to have 20 calendars, 25 calendars ready. You can't say, no, you know what? When I get my 2 and I get to Ruby, my 2 will buy their 4 each. You've got to be prepared, because you've got to remember, it's your business. Yes, part of the duplication process is for you to teach others to work the calendar, and it's also for you to teach others to work the calendar. But you've got to look at your business. You see, if you are doing all of this, and because the calendar not being available, but people being ready to work the calendar, you couldn't, that's a regret that you would never be able to get over with. And it's very important in the process of creating duplication. Here's what we've been taught to do, and here's what we do. For the first 2 exposures, of any new person, I would do the presentation, but I'd make sure that the person I'm doing the presentation for knows that in the first 2 presentations, they are meant to take notes. They are meant to pay very close attention to everything we say, to how we transition from one slide to the other. And in the 3rd presentation, in the 3rd exposure, that person is to take over and start the presentation, at least half of it. And maybe I'll come up on the latter part of the back end of it and do the closing. And by the 4th time, that person is to do the presentation by themselves. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there because I want to make sure if I'm needed to jump in, I'm ready. I'm there so that I'm there for support. But here's the thing. When they've done 2 and they've got their signups, if they go and duplicate the same process, that goes hand in hand in the process of teaching others and teaching others to teach others to work the calendar, which is the formula that can get you to diamond. Now, here's the thing. If you are serious about getting to diamond and you're committed to your business, which means straight after this call, you're going to go on Boom Gear and order yourself the number of calendars you need to get to the rank that you're really aiming to get to before the next big event, the next global event, as we call it. Well, then I want you to put in the chat, I am going diamond. I am going diamond. If you're planning to go diamond, I am going diamond. But here's the thing. If you put that there, that's a commitment. You got to stay committed to that commitment, that the minute this call is over, you're going to go online and order your calendars. Don't do it for me. Don't do it for the company. Do it for you. Do it for you if you're serious about getting to those ranks. If you're serious about building your wealth, about building your lifestyle, about building a future for you and your family. Sorry, awesome. Now, set your plan up in your flight plan calendar, everything from A to Z. You know, what actions you're going to take this month, what rank you're targeting to hit this month. Because remember, if you're working the calendar alone, 16,000 QV means you hit Sapphire. And if you're already a Sapphire, you need to have, or you need to find your 2 people who's working the calendar with you. But you have to set everything up within your flight plan calendar. Like I said, that's your calculator. Here's the thing. Do you ever leave the house to go anywhere without your bank card? Hey, for some of us, it's the Ibüümerang card, right? But do you ever leave without your bank card? You're going out, you will purchase something, you may purchase something. If you don't leave your house without a tool that's going to cost you money, how could you go anywhere? How could you go anywhere without the tool that's going to build you your wealth? This should be with you at all times. This should have the notes for absolutely everything you plan on doing during every single day. When you start treating it like that, when you start treating it as your formula to success, your calculator to work out your success, then by putting that effort, that's when the formula works. That's when the system works. You see, because like the comparison I gave you earlier about when you're at school, at college, trying to copy, if you're looking at someone's page when they are answering question 4 and you're copying that answer in number 3, it doesn't matter how good that person is. You just put the wrong answer just because you're taking the answers of question 4 and putting in to question 3. You see, this calendar has to be followed to the T for it to have the impact that it has had for all of us and many others before so far. So if you're truly serious, I really, really urge you to make sure you press that reset button if you need to. You go and get your calendars and you find out in your team who's serious about working the calendar. I'm not saying they're not working or they're not working hard. Well, this helps you work smart. The calendar helps you work smart because you know everything that's happening in your day. You know where you can fit in the exposures, where you can fit in your freeway calls, where you can fit in anything that you need to do during a day, right? Now, you got set up your monthly pages. Use them to plan your activity. Keep track of your results. Like I said, it's a calculator. At the end of every exposure, you have to write next to that exposure how many QVs you have achieved from that event. How many QVs came out of that event? That's how you got to keep track. You can't just work the calendar for a month, come to the last exposure, you look at it, you say, oh my God, we got 1,000 QV here, but we're going to be 1,500 QV short of Sapphire. You've got to know that 2 weeks in advance. You've got to know where you stand after every single exposure, after the follow-up has been done with every single qualified prospect. And, you know, as it says here, always bring your calendar to coaching sessions. But I say to you, always have your calendar with you everywhere. Because, hey, you could be sitting in the car, driving somewhere, and you've got a phone call. One of your person has 5 qualified prospects. They want to know a time to set an exposure. If you don't have your calendar with you, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? Well, you've got to have your calendar. Like I said, if you take your bank card with you, that's going to cost you money, then you've got to take the calendar, which is the system of how you can build your business, how you can build an income, how you can build your future. Subject to our disclaimer, as I say it every time. Now, the second thing you want to do in terms of keeping track of each leg, each working leg, is you will find this page in the calendar. There's no need for me to open it here, that you go from left to right. On the left side, well, on the half of the page being your left leg, on the right of the page being your right leg. But you have 6 potential working legs on each side. where you put in their volume and you put in their target volume. So volume of last month, target volume of this month, and target rank of this month. Because you see the circles also shows you the depth of each leg. Because as our GMA, Mr. Edwin Hayden say, lead at the top, work at the bottom. Because it's not necessary that the person that you sponsored directly is going to be the one that wants to work the calendar. They could have come in, they brought one person or two people, and they've almost dropped out and they're not doing anything. Or that's their list, that's their qualified prospect. But those two people, one of them wants to run. They're ready to have 5 qualified prospects every single week, 4 times a week. Who knows? But for that, you've got to work at the bottom. Yes, lead at the top, but work at the bottom. Now, with that, a leadership success tip here is always have several flight plan calendars on hand, as we mentioned, for your new ambassadors to purchase from you so they can start right away. Now, we've covered that. And look, first of all, I feel really it's very important because I understand the importance of this because I had never been exposed to such a system before. There wasn't a system. I feel so blessed, so humbled that I was able to get access to this. The amount of learning it's provided, the amount of guidance is provided, it's incredible. But we want to see you go out there and purchase your flight plan calendars. You see, when you go on there and you purchase 5 flight calendars, we already know you're planning on going Ruby. You go there and purchase 10, we know your plan is to go Emerald. And if your plan is to go Diamond, we know you're going to purchase 20, right? And like I said, we've made some income sort of claims as we go along. Here's the disclaimer again, it's very important. I'm going to read the first line and let you read the rest. Ibüümerang cannot and will not make any guarantees about your ability to get results or earn any money with our program, information, tools, and strategies. All we can tell you, please read the rest. This tool has worked wonders for many others. And the value that you get from this is worth way, way, way more because it's priceless. It's worth way more than what you pay for it. In fact, you don't pay anything. I personally see it as an investment into my future. An investment into my future. So with that, I thank every single one of you for being on this call, for listening. I hope that I'm going to see many people out here who's going to go and purchase their flight plan calendars. And we're going to see you as Sapphires, as Rubies, as Emerald, as Diamonds, or even higher in the next event. This is Avinash Nagamah coming to you from London. I thank the corporate, I thank Mr. Buggs, Mr. Edwin Haynes for the opportunity to serve today. And we'll see you on the biggest stage of all. And we'll see you very, very soon. Thank you very much.